3 years ago today, I posted my first YouTube video. It had 32 views, 3 likes, and 1 comment. Not only was it important because it launched my YouTube channel, but it was also the first step in my journey to self-improvement, and it absolutely changed my life. In that video, I had talked about 5 things. I talked about my relationship with social media and my phone. I talked about my physical and mental fitness and well-being. I talked about reconnecting with old friends. I talked about becoming the main character of my story and finding my purpose, and then finally how I had nothing left to lose. In the 6 months following making that video, I stayed off of social media. It was a little bit difficult at first because I'd go into my phone and I would look for that icon and it wasn't there, and I was always going in there repeatedly even though I knew it wasn't there. And there was an anxiety to that. But shortly thereafter, I felt a sense of relief because I realized that no one noticed I was gone, no one really cared. I also realized that not keeping up with the latest political or pop culture news wasn't the end of the world, and it didn't actually matter, and the sky was not falling. The most important thing about that is all the time that I got back. I got so much time to myself to go and do things that I actually cared about, things that impacted my life, instead of filling it with things from everyone else's life. And today, I still have a pretty good relationship with social media. I occasionally have to step back, and I occasionally go on to post, but I realize the value in having that time back to work on things that I care about and things that help me grow as a person instead of filling myself with clutter from the rest of the world. Prior to making that video, I had let my fitness slip away. I had done pretty much the bare minimum to stay in shape, but I had lost sense of why I really did it. And once I made this video, I made it a non-negotiable. Every morning, it was my first victory, was going to the gym and being done before the sun came up.
Before the sun is even up, guys. I'm telling you, just try it one day. It's an amazing feeling to accomplish something so early and in a manner in which other people aren't willing to do it. It's just an unreal feeling.
It was the only victory I could really grasp initially until I started to get more momentum in my life. But getting win after win every morning did wonders for me. I reclaimed the gym as a temple, a place of therapy for me to think about life and reflect, but also to build myself physically and to fortify myself mentally. Today, my goals are a little bit different. Fitness to me is about my long-term health, and it's a little less selfish. It's about being healthy and fit enough in the future to play with my kids, to skate with my grandkids. My values have changed, but fitness is still at the core of that. There are new things that I do, like I ran my first 5K, my first half marathon, and this year I'm gonna run my first marathon. And that's really important to me because I wanna see what I'm capable of and pushing my body as far as it can go. And that's something that I value, and that's something that a lot of people aren't willing to do, and it really excites me. After that video, I had spent a lot of time trying to reconnect with old friends. And some of that went really well, and some of that didn't go so well, because I realized that some people weren't in my life for a reason. But these were all lessons that I needed to learn, and in a time where I felt lonely, I reached out to everybody that I could to not feel that way. And the OGs, my friends since day one, the guys that are gonna be at my wedding, they were there for me to lift me up, and I'm so grateful for that. And they reminded me of the person that I am and the person that I'm capable of being. And they believed in me even when I felt crazy or felt like I wasn't worthy of that. There were other friends, unfortunately, who wanted to bring me down because my growth meant leaving them behind, and they selfishly wanted to stun that growth. And me being successful and developing into this person that I wanted to be didn't fit with their vision of what they wanted me to be and who they wanted me to be, and it became a little selfish and malicious. And those people aren't in my life anymore, but it's a huge lesson on identifying who cares about you and who wants what's best for you, who's really in your corner. Today, it's a lot harder because I'm 8 hours away from where I grew up, and I don't get to see the OGs every day anymore or every weekend. but I still maintain a good relationship with them, and everything that they've done for me, I'm beyond grateful for. And I will always appreciate them, and they will always have my gratitude, and I hope I can repay them one day. But since I moved here, I have tried to develop a new circle of friends, a new group of people who care about me and my growth. And I've learned from the lessons that I've learned in the past couple of years on how to find the right people here, people who care about me, people that aren't going to bring me down, just people that only want what's best for you. Arguably the most important part of that video is about becoming the main character of your own story. And that might seem selfish, but if you're not in a position where you can help anybody, then you're just going to be doing a disservice. So I need to build myself back up in order to help those around me, so I can be a supporting character in someone else's story. And I alluded to this with some of the social media stuff, but I took the time to do the things that matter to me, the things that I value, the things that make me grow, the things that interest me, that I'm passionate about, the things that I find my purpose in. And the thing about not being connected to everybody or having the naysayers and negative friends in your circle is that you don't get a lot of pushback on those things. People don't treat you like you're stupid or you're crazy, and you can just be who you want to be. We spend so much of our life listening to the outside voices that we forget that we have our own voice. And that's been the most valuable part of this process in the last 3 years, is asking myself, what do I want? And then pursuing that. And now I'm doing things that matter to me in my fitness, in my career, the things that I'm pursuing, my relationships. I started becoming the person that my dream girl would want. And now I have my dream girl. And I know that sounds so corny, but it works. But we're so busy trying to be someone different than who we are for other people. And we feel like we're entitled to have the world be a certain way or treat us a certain way. And we're not entitled to that at all. I'm like the first person in my family to travel to Europe, and I did it with a bunch of strangers that I have lifelong relationships with now. But my biggest takeaway from that trip was that no one cares who I am. No one cares about my story, where I was and where I'm at now. They care about who I am in that moment. They care about the authenticity of me and how I treat them, my relationship with them. And there's something freeing about that there's no expectations for who you're supposed to be, because you're just yourself. And all of my accomplishments and all the things that I'm working towards in my relationships with others, that's who makes me me. And I am proud of that. But for you and someone you know, it's the collection of all of these things, your relationships, the things that you do, the way that you carry yourself. That's who you are to others. And if you're not doing the things that you want to do, or the things that drive you, or that you're passionate about, and your relationships are rotten at the core, then that's going to be the reflection of you. And I know that you don't want that. That's not what I wanted. That's why I started cleaning house. That's why I made sure the people around me weren't yes men, but they were people who supported me and understood me and my vision. And if they didn't particularly understand that vision, they still loved and cared about me enough to trust me to pursue it anyways. Everyone goes through these loops of toxic relationships, and they don't fix anything, and they don't change their filters and their parameters for the person that they want to spend their life with, and I did. And a lot of that came from the change on my end, and what I cared about, and what I valued, and how I carried myself. Because at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. And if you're going to spend the rest of your life living someone else's story, then you're never going to be happy and fulfilled and find your purpose, because you're just living someone else's fantasy. You're living someone else's vision for what you're supposed to be, not yours. And maybe you don't know what you want your story to be, and that's okay, but sit down and figure that out and ask yourself those questions instead of listening to all the voices, because it's going to change everything for you. It changed everything for me. I am happy with my life and the person that I've become and the person that I'm continuing to be. And that's because I put myself first. And I cannot recommend enough that you should do the same. And the last thing that I talked about in that video is having nothing to lose. Because back then I felt like I was at rock bottom and there was nowhere else to go but up. And I was pretty much right. I just put one foot in front of the other, and every mistake that I made didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things because it couldn't really get worse. And it made it easier to take chances and take risks that paid off in a big way. But now I do have stuff to lose. I do have a job that I could lose when I'm trying to take a risk. I do have a relationship that matters so much to me that I have to balance with risk, because now it's not just about me, it's about my partner, my family, and my future family. But to sit here and play it safe is not going to get me to where I need to be. That's how stagnation happens. And I will not be stagnant. I will grow until the last breath that I take on this earth. I promise you that. Because if I'm not growing, if I'm not learning, if I'm not becoming a better version of myself, then I am not living to my potential. And that is a disgrace to God, to my family, to my friends who pulled me out of the gutter, to my partner, to my future kids, to everybody who plays a role in my life. Sure, I can't be negligent, but I have to take calculated risks now, because it's the only way that I can keep growing and that I can keep seeing what I'm capable of becoming while still protecting the things that I have now and the people that I care about now. My life has changed so much over the last 3 years. I was just some 24-year-old kid trying to make his way through life and document a little bit of that, because I knew that there were other people who felt stuck, felt like the world didn't really want them and that they weren't meant for more. And I knew that wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning. And I was right. 3 years later, at 27, I'm here to tell you that everything can change for you. Doesn't matter if you're broke, if you're heartbroken, if you're overweight and unhealthy, if you're anxious and afraid and depressed, it doesn't matter, because everything can change for you. But what matters is what you decide to do, the next step that you decide to take, because inaction isn't going to change anything. That's how you regress. So you need to find what you care about, what you want to do, what you want your story to be, and then unapologetically follow that story. Be a little selfish, become the main character, become the person that you want to be, the person that others know that you can be. Look, the blueprint isn't perfect. All these things that I talked about in the video, they helped me, and they might not be the things that you struggle with, but one or two of these things, take them and run with them, try them. Fix your relationship with social media, with the outside voices, with your friendships, your relationships. Be a little selfish. Do what's good for you for once. It's okay to want more out of your life, and everybody that tells you otherwise is full of shit, and they're selfish. You were made for more. We were all made for more. Don't let anyone else tell you how to live your life and how to write your story. That's how you restart your life.